Welcome. This is Jamaica Magazine and I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. We have packaged a very informative lineup for you today. We start things off with a message, then the news. Keep watching.
If you are experiencing symptoms of the monkeypox virus, including fever, intense headache, swelling of the lymph nodes, back pain, muscle ache, lack of energy, and/or a rash on the skin, you must self-isolate immediately and call ahead to your health center or doctor before visiting. The virus may enter the body through broken skin, even if not visible, the respiratory tract, or mucous membranes, eyes, nose, or mouth, and has an incubation period of between 5 and 21 days. The spread of monkeypox may occur when a person comes into close contact with an infected animal, direct contact with monkeypox skin lesions or scabs of an infected person, contact with clothing or linen such as bedding or towels used by an infected person, and the coughing or sneezing of an individual with a monkeypox rash. Wear a mask. Frequently wash hands and practice physical distancing as part of the infection prevention and control efforts. For additional information on monkeypox, visit the Ministry of Health and Wellness website at moh.gov.jm or contact the local public health department.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, September 6, 2022. A national drug prevalence survey will be undertaken as part of efforts to assess the use of new and emerging psychoactive substances, including Molly, among children and adolescents. The survey will be done at a cost of $16 million by the National Council on Drug Abuse, NCDA, which is the drug prevention and treatment arm of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The National Drug Prevalence Survey, which is to provide key insights into substance use among the general population from 12 to 65 years old. It came out of a need for evidence-based research to guide the alcohol policy, which is now in formation. We're hoping to have a green paper soon. Alcohol abuse policy.
The survey is a follow-up to the NCDA's rapid situation assessment on substance use and other urgent issues in secondary schools. It revealed a normalization of drug use among adolescents in school, which the government considers to be a grave concern.
Despite the proven dangers, the challenge of rising drug use tells us that other issues are intersecting and ballooning. Our coordinated response is also an attempt at intervening before things get worse.
According to Minister Tufton, the National Drug Prevalence Survey and the Drug Prevention and Treatment Program of the NCDA will form a critical part of the response measures. Still on health, a contract valuing over $453 million was signed for the procurement of 6 X-ray machines. The contract was signed by the Southeast Regional Health Authority, SERA, last week, and the equipment will be distributed among 4 major hospitals. The supply and installation are expected to be completed over the next 4 to 6 weeks. The X-ray machines will enhance patient care and improve service delivery at health facilities. A partnership between the Agro-Investment Corporation, AIC, and the Forestry Department will result in the planting of 6,000 fruit, ornamental, and timber trees across the island this week. This is being done to increase agriculture production and stop environmental degradation. The trees will be planted in the agro-parks and production zones, a move that is embraced by stakeholders.
We see these trees as spaces, habitats for animals, plants. We see this as achieving food security.
When you have a piece of land where you can plant a tree, engage the forestry department, get the seedlings. They'll tell you what seedling is good for which part of land and plant that tree.
Infrastructure upgrade for the Cheswick community in St. Thomas is to begin in short order. The work will be carried out under the Rural Development Program, and Minister with Responsibility, Desmond McKenzie, indicated that rehabilitation of the water system is a major focus.
What we are going to be rolling out in Cheswick over the next couple of months, we're going to be, first of all, dealing with Road 60, Hill 60. We will start the process to carry out the repairs to L60. Rural Water will work with the National Water Commission to look at how to improve the water supply system to the community.
Minister Mackenzie was speaking during a tour of the community recently. Residents will also benefit from the rewiring of houses for connection to the power grid, the construction of 6 social housing units, a basic school, and a community center. The Ministry of Education and Youth has announced a successful first day of school for the 2022-2023 academic year. The start of the term marks the full resumption of face-to-face learning in schools since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Minister of Education and Youth Favour Williams says the ministry will be redoubling its efforts to ensure that students recover from the negative effects of the pandemic.
There will be a lot of focus this year on ensuring that our students who are on the different paths, and that would have been communicated on their PEP results, especially for those who are transitioning to high school, to let the teacher in the high school know whether or not they need intervention.
Minister Williams made the disclosure during her tour of several schools in Kingston on Monday. She added that more will be done to address the problem of learning loss, improve student performance, and the enforcement of school rules.
This year, we want to call more on the parents. In all my speeches going forward, I will be calling on our parents to get more involved.
And finally, the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, is providing support to the family of the 3 children who perished in a fire on Sunday in Westmoreland. The deceased are 7-year-old twins Jaden and Jordan Leng and their brother, Adriana Leng. Another sibling was also badly injured and is in hospital. While giving the update, the Education and Youth Minister expressed condolences to the family and urged Jamaicans to consider them as they go about their everyday lives.
As you go about your business, remember the family in your prayers, in your hearts. We mourn for them. Let us pray that she will recover.
The minister made the request during her visit to the Franklin Primary School in Kingston on Monday. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
The travel file application was created by the Transport Authority for the protection of the commuting public. Please download the travel file application on the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. Once you download the application, put in your phone number, register the application under your phone number, and then you'll be able to verify the license plate that you're going in. Once you verify the license plate and the information of the vehicle, you will then be able to share that trip of the vehicle that you're in. And if there is difficulty on the trip, you then will be able to push a panic button and share your location with others as well. Download the application, give us our feedback at customerservice@ta.org.jm. Don't forget, it's free to download, free to use.
Motor vehicle crashes are incredibly common, some of which are the result of reckless driving or poor choices. The good news is there are preemptive measures you can take to reduce the risk of a traffic crash. Here's how.
We have stepped up our road spot check operations across the country to ensure that only effective motor vehicles are on the roadway and defective vehicles are not allowed to traverse the network willy-nilly. I'd like to use this opportunity to appeal to all motorists. I have noticed some trends out there where there is different type of license plates on motor vehicles. Only the Jamaican issued driver's license plates are to be on the motor vehicles. I'm appealing to motorists out there. I'm appealing to them. We have removed many plates because of fandangles that are on the motor vehicle. Colorful lights, red light, purple light, blue light. I love purple and white, but the purple is not no purple light must on the vehicle. Blue light, yellow light, orange light, and these multicolored lights. Get them off. your headlight must be white. That's the law. We don't want us to take them off during the road spot check operation, because it will mean that you could be issued a E1 certificate, a certificate of defects, and you'll have to take funds out of your pocket to get back your plates. The tinting of your windscreen, cut it out, because it affects visibility and it has a potential risk factor for traffic crashes. Public passenger vehicles, according to the Transport Authority Act, not supposed to have tints. Driving on the roadway is a very serious matter, and I would like to appeal to persons whom we have issued driver's license to. Remember that we don't want you to violate, because if you violate, you will get certain prizes that you don't want. So you'll get a prize if you accumulate a certain amount of points. You get a prize, your driver's license suspended for 6 months. If you don't listen, you don't hear, you could open up yourself for another prize. And that prize would be a license could be suspended for a year. If you don't like that prize, you could work harder again and get a bigger prize. And that prize, your license could be suspended for 2 years. We would like to appeal to persons who transport, once you transport any passenger in a motor vehicle, ensure that they are buckled, whether they are on the front or they are on the back. The seatbelt gives people a fighting chance to survive the crash. Many people have died who never give themselves a fighting chance.
Looking at the data, we recognize certain points of interest that we, the road safety, would be looking at in seeing how we can actively engage our citizens and how we can reduce the number of injuries and fatalities that are occurring on our roads. So one of them is actually speeding. Now, most motorists and bikers, who currently represent 35% and 18% of road fatalities, we're appealing to them to reduce and think about themselves and others who are using the roadway. Another road user group that we are actually targeting is pedestrians, and they represent 20% of our fatalities. And we want to appeal to them to be vigilant, to really utilize the road carefully, be alert, don't cross from corners, walk facing the traffic so you can see what we're doing, wear light color clothing at nights and reflective clothing at nights, so you can be seen.
Obedience is always better than sacrifice. That's the word from Elohim.
Parents, guardians, educators, join Prime Minister the Most Honorable Andrew Holness and Minister of Education and Youth the Honorable Fable Williams for a town hall under the theme Education Time for Action. Friday, September 9, starting at 5 p.m. at the Jamaica College Auditorium, 189 Old Hope Road. Join us on location or watch and share your questions and thoughts on the JI social media platforms. We want to hear from you.
Salt. Is that one thing that's in every kitchen cupboard, counter or shelf? It's also in almost everything we eat or drink. So it's understandable when research shows that it's the leading cause of hypertension. While it's unavoidable in most cases, this upcoming presentation shares ways in which you can reduce your intake.
Most of us are very familiar with salt. The most common is table salt. The chemical name is sodium chloride, and it's a common component of the food supply in most countries. There are several other sources of salt, including monosodium glutamate, or MSG as it's commonly known, and sodium bicarbonate, or baking soda. Salt is commonly used to flavor food and is used as a binder, stabilizer, as well as preservative. Sodium, or salt as we know it, plays an important role in the proper functioning of our body, with just about 500 milligrams needed daily to carry out normal body functions, such as water balance and nerve conduction. However, most of us are consuming much more than is needed.
Global estimates suggest that persons consume between 9 to 12 grams of salt per day, which is 1.5 to 2 times the recommended intake level.
This briny affair is one of the key factors in our non-communicable disease burden. In simple terms, our overconsumption of this nutrient is contributing to the development of several diseases.
When we look at the heart and cardiovascular system, increased salt intake is associated with high blood pressure, with ischemic heart disease, with hypertensive heart disease, as well as heart failure. For the brain, it's associated with stroke, as well as dementia. For the kidneys, with chronic kidney disease and renal stones. For the stomach, there's an association with increased risk of stomach cancer. For the bones, there's problems related to osteoporosis.
High blood pressure or hypertension affects 1 in 3 Jamaicans, and another third is pre-hypertensive. Salt consumption is also often accompanied by increased intake of calories, which increases the propensity for obesity.
Given that the entire population is at risk of NCDs, given the significant impact and the burden of NCDs, it's imperative that there is sustained action to mitigate the effects of salt consumption.
In 2021, the Ministry of Health and Wellness launched the Jamaica Salt Consumption Knowledge, Attitudes and Practice Jamaica Salt CAP Study. It was designed to provide local baseline data for strengthening strategies to eliminate overconsumption of salt within the population. The ministry is partnering with the National Non-Communicable Disease Committee, the National Health Fund, and the University of the West Indies on the study.
One important aspect of addressing the health concerns of any population is through research. This study, therefore, will help to determine the knowledge, attitude, and practices of our population as it relates to salt intake and strengthen the implementation of strategies to reduce.
This project has specific objectives. So firstly, we aim to estimate the dietary sodium consumption among Jamaicans using spot urine sodium analyses. We want to evaluate the salt content in commonly consumed packaged foods sold in supermarkets. We also want to evaluate the sodium content in commonly used consumed foods in local restaurants. Then we will conduct a national survey to get information on knowledge, attitudes, and practices regarding salt intake in Jamaica.
The World Health Organization (WHO) recommends less than 5 grams of sodium per day for adults and less than 2 grams for children under 11 years of age. 1 in 10 Jamaicans consume excess salt by adding it during cooking or at the table, as well as by frequent consumption of salty sauces or high-sodium processed foods. A significant amount of sodium also comes from ready-made meals and prepared foods, including processed meats, breakfast cereals, and snacks. It's a scenario where the entire population is at risk for NCDs. Minimizing this habit for excess salt in the diet of Jamaicans is one of several goals informing the Ministry of Health and Wellness's NCD agenda. The mission to shake the salt habit begins with the young. Lowering sodium in children's diets today can help prevent heart disease later in life, especially for those who are overweight. Limit their consumption of salty snacks. And remember, no more than 2 grams per day from all food sources for those under 11 years of age. Let's also shop and cook smart. Use less or no salt when cooking and add more flavor to your food by using fresh herbs and salt-free seasoning instead. Also, keep a watch on the foods that are high in salt and limit the consumption. Take the time to carefully read the nutrition labels on food products to determine those providing the healthier options, and be mindful of the portion size you consume. Also, seek out recipes for healthy, tasty meals that can be prepared with little or no salt.
Jamaica is a signatory to the United Nations International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, which recognizes the right of everyone to the highest standard of health. And we believe that in order to achieve this, we must address the crises of NCDs and the role that excess salt, sugars and fats play in making Jamaicans susceptible to getting a lifestyle disease.
Jamaica has committed to the World Health Organization voluntary target to reduce sodium or salt consumption by 30% by 2025. Achieving this requires buy-in from all stakeholders, including manufacturers, retailers, health professionals, and consumers.
So we have a duty to ensure that Jamaicans are aware of the harmful effects of unhealthy diets and have access to important nutritional information, which will allow them to make healthier food choices. It has to be tackled initially from the prevention perspective, and the core of that is consumer information, and then policies that encourage or nudges health-seeking behavior.
We all must do our part to break this briny affair. Shake the salt habit and stay healthy.
Everyone has the right to freedom of expression, even our children.
My voice matters. Every child has a right to speak up. It's not like they can stay quiet forever, and everything they have to say is important. So that's why I think my voice matters.
At school and at home, every child's voice should matter.
In this school, nobody is more and nobody is less. My teachers, my parents, they know who I am because they understand me and they know what I understand from what I don't.
I will encourage the students to do their best. I will say that even if they do not get something they want, they might get something even better.
When emotions are close to the surface and we contemplate on life, we will all remember the phrase, "A child shall lead them."
My voice matters.
Parenting can be very frustrating, and a lot of times people don't feel like they really have an answer to everything, and the truth is that that is the reality. But there are different things that people can try. We're not saying that any one thing works for everybody or that you'll even get the outcome that you want immediately. Especially when you're dealing with young children, you might have to try something several times before you see a particular result. So for example, if it is that you want a child to learn the difference between right and wrong, a lot of times in the past we use pain to teach that this is wrong, right? But we find that ultimately when you hit a child, what you're teaching them to do is, when I don't like something, I should hit and I should lash out. What you want to try in a situation like that, you can try removing privileges. If there are things that the child might love to do, or even the age-old timeout, you know, where you say, listen, for this period, you have to sit by yourself, there's no communication, there's no talking, sit down and be still. Sometimes you have to physically just hold your child and help them to breathe through it, because you have some children where they have so much emotion and so much anger and they want to get it out that it's really difficult for them to regulate it at such a young age. And so you have to physically hold them, put your hand on them, help them to breathe through it until they're calm. And with children, even if they don't understand necessarily the big concepts of right and wrong, they can sometimes understand tone. Right? And tone is not the same thing as lashing out and using certain words and calling them different names. Tone is being firm and saying, I do not want you on this. So for example, if a child keeps going off on something, you might have to take them off it 10 times, right? And continue to reinforce with the same tone and consistency that you do not want them on this. And also for younger children, sometimes you have to be the one to remove whatever it is that you don't want them to interact with from the environment, right? Because they're so young and so impulsive, you can't necessarily leave it to them to understand I shouldn't touch this thing, right? So that's how we deal with the younger children.
Come in.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi,
how
dear.
are you?
Welcome. Good to have you. Welcome.
Tell us, what are your morning rituals?
I tend to get up very early in the mornings and to try to be at work early because our missions, we have them overseas, and because of the time difference, we really have to have an early start here in order to meet them at the better point in their day.
All right, and in one sentence, can you tell us what you do?
I'm the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and head of the Jamaican Foreign Service, and we have responsibility for the development, implementation, and management of Jamaica's foreign policy and relations.
Okay.
One moment.
No problem.
Yes. Yes. All right, no problem. I'll leave shortly.
Always busy, I see.
Never a dull moment, never a dull moment. So much to do.
What was the most difficult decision for you this week, and why was it difficult?
It is not only for this week, you know, I always have difficult decisions. I have a rapidly changing agenda, and very often I have to just shift course and not be able to meet with staff, which would be on my agenda. And I find that is something that I really miss not being able to do. And but it is the nature of the job. Hi, Andrea. How are you? Thank you so much, and thanks for your work. Yes, and you know, we just have to live with the very fast-paced nature of this job and hope for understanding for the staff, and they have been good.
Has anyone or anything made you feel inspired lately?
I take quite a bit of inspiration on a Saturday morning when I walk up Mountain Spring. I see people of all kinds, shapes, size, ages, and they are pressing on. It's a really very demanding track, and just seeing them and see their, you know, their fortitude and their courage and just their persistence, and I have found that encouraging. It also teaches a valuable lesson because I learned that it takes a long time to climb to the top, but you can come down even in just about half the time. So it means that you have to be really very careful and thoughtful about how you conduct yourself and your work. Good to see you.
What would you like your legacy in the public sector to be?
You know, I'd really like to help to build the conviction about the pursuit of excellence. We need a tradition of excellence in the public service, and I hope that I can contribute to instill that in those who are working with me and around me.
Where's the most interesting place your work has taken you?
I have been to many countries, but I have to say, only because it is the smallest country I've been to, Monaco. Really very interesting rock, if one could call it that, and the corner of Europe, and I have found it to be quite delightful.
Before we go, I'd love for you to recommend one book you think everyone should read.
I don't have one book. I have one type of book. Autobiographies and biographies. I think there is something about being inspired by the stories of others. So if you think of persons, J.J. Mills, Edna Manley, Barack Obama, Nelson Mandela, and all that you can learn about life from their own stories, that I find very inspiring. And that is what I would recommend. We just take the time to see how others have been inspired to live their own lives. That's what I would recommend.
All right, thank you so much, Sheila. Have a good one.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for coming.
This is where we close today's Jamaica Magazine. For more, visit our website at jis.gov.jm. The production team wishes you well in your pursuit of excellence. Until next time, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Be safe, be well, and be happy.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.